Inspiration sparks and raises our vibration, encouraging all of us to live our best lives. It is now my pleasure to welcome our speaker for this evening, Elaine Hager. Elaine will be serving Spirit and us with an inspirational reading and address this evening. Elaine is a graduate of the University of Metaphysical Sciences, where she earned a Master's of Divinity degree and a PhD in metaphysics. She currently serves as a trustee on the SCoA board. She is an ordained minister, a spiritual healer, and medium. She teaches spiritual philosophy and theology throughout the United States. Her life mission is to help others progress and help others who seek spiritual progress. A warm Harmony Harbor welcome to Elaine.
And thank you for giving me this opportunity to be here with you today. The 4th of July. And, it was about independence and freedom. And I was thinking about spiritual independence. So what are some thoughts that come to mind when I say the word independence to you? Independence can mean different things depending on circumstances. One definition of independence is the state of being free of control. For some, independence might mean separation from a situation. It can also mean having enough money to be financially independent. Regardless of the circumstance, the word independence is often linked to either acquisition or disposal. Some people have experienced a sense of independence when they decluttered their homes. I had an aunt, her name was Evelyn, who remained in her home because she couldn't bear to part with the decor that it took her years to establish. She had these beautiful bookcases in the wall, and she was a big fan of music and books, and she had this tremendous stereo system built into the wall, and she couldn't bear to part with any of this stuff. But when she grew older, she went blind, and she was no longer able to remain in that house. And so she begrudgingly sold it and bought an apartment in the theater district in Manhattan, where she lived out the rest of her days happier than she'd been in years. In hindsight, she wished she had made the move sooner. My aunt allowed her stuff to control her. How many of us hold on to things that no longer serve us? How many of us remain in relationships too long or remain in contact with toxic family members out of a sense of obligation? What does it mean to live in a state of spiritual independence? Spiritual independence can also be defined as a state of being free of control. What would it feel like to you to be spiritually independent? Think for a moment about the billions of stars in the universe. Each star has its own unique characteristics. Some are large, some are small, some are brighter than others. To see one star in the galaxy is beautiful, but to see the night sky lit up by millions of them is incredible. These millions of stars create a canvas of amazing beauty that has captured the imagination of poets and artists and romantics for as long as history has been able to be recorded. Now, suppose that each star represented a part of the story of your life. One star represents a time in your life that was happy. Another star represents an incident that was maybe frustrating or painful. Excuse me. Each star holds a thought about your life. And when seen together like the night sky aglow with its own magnificence, a unique and beautiful canvas is created. A picture of your life that contains a mix of both light and dark colors that represent the different times in your life. Without the contrast of all the light and dark, color-filled experiences, the unique artistic rendition of your life would be dull and uneventful. It takes a mix of all the aspects of life to make the journey one of substance and depth. This is the stuff that gives birth to knowledge and wisdom, common sense, and logic, that when brought together forms your strength of character. It can mean the difference between abundance and poverty, surviving and thriving, a life of fulfillment and gratification, or impoverishment and deactualization. Spiritual independence is a choice. The canvas of your life is painted with the thoughts you have about yourself. Think of thoughts as colors. What colors do you want to see on your canvas? When you look at the night sky, imagine that each star represents a thought of yourself. And you get to choose which star to place upon the canvas. The stars that you choose to focus upon shine brighter than the ones that don't receive your attention. In that manner of choice, you become the creator and control the trajectory of your life. Your thoughts are powerful beyond measure. They are the creation of the landscape of your life. When you have thoughts of others and circumstances outside of your inner world, what's inside you, you're projecting onto the universal collective canvas of creation. This canvas is the reflection of the physical world. It reflects all thoughts of life. The animating energy that some call God or Source provides the energy to make creation possible. Think of it like this. God or Source provides the canvas, the paint, and the brushes, and we use these tools to create the picture upon the canvas. Our thoughts are a collective work of art projected upon the artistry of life itself. You may have heard the terms like collective consciousness or universal consciousness. These terms represent a spiritual landscape of our collective consolidated thoughts. This collective consolidation is the substance of the physical world. So let's narrow the field back down to individual consciousness. Ernest Holmes wrote, "The laws of mind or spirit," and we're all spirit, obviously, having a human experience right now. The laws of mind or spirit are not different from the laws of chemistry and physics. Metaphysics begins where physics leaves off. Everything is movement. everything that we can take hold of and analyze, all things in the physical world or the world of form, that's the earth world that we're familiar with, the world of form, is in a certain rate of vibration and are an effect. This is the result of an infinite thinker. And that infinite thinker is you. By the way, the term metaphysics is not a New Age term. Aristotle knew of metaphysics, which he called the theoretical sciences, and that's where Aristotle's first studies began. He was born in 384 BC. Okay, so back to Ernest Holmes, and this one I'll paraphrase. Metaphysically, we recognize the universal spirit as the source of all life and inspiration, an infinite self-knowingness, which we grasp only in part, but which is ever available since the infinite is omnipresent. The mind of one individual is an extension of the eternal mind, and one's individual evolution is the unfolding of this everlasting mind through an individual's thoughts. In other words, your thoughts are the horsepower behind all physical creation. Quoting Ernest Holmes further, he said, "Things are ideas in form. What else could they be? There is nothing from which to make things except ideas. In the beginning, we behold nothing visible. There's only a limitless imagination, an infinite possibility, a consciousness, an idea. That's where it all begins. That which we call our subjective mind or our individualized thinking is, in reality, our identity in infinite mind, or God, or source. It's how we perceive ourselves in relation to all else. It's the result of our mental attitudes. It's our mental atmosphere or center of how we subjectively perceive ourselves in relation to everything else. That's how we perceive ourselves. In this mental state of subjectivity, there is the perception of separateness from source. The subjective mind is the storehouse of all the images, impressions, and inherited tendencies. How far back the subjective mind goes is anyone's guess. Is it something that carries the subjectivity of previous lives, or karmic debts that must be paid from previous lives, or the debts of our ancestors? I don't have that answer. What I've come to learn and believe is that within each one of us, to each one of us, and through each one of us, there's a subjective personalization that is personified by the thoughts we strengthen as we choose to strongly engage with them. Life does not provide us with our thoughts. Our thoughts provide us with our life. Spiritual independence is an evolutionary process that's constantly in motion. At any given moment, you are either moving closer or further away from God, by and through the direction of your thinking. The actions that take place in nature are physical guideposts of living a centered life in wholeness, unobstructed from personality and environmental traits we acquired along the way. We came here naturally. Here's what we know through observation of nature. Nature always seeks to right itself. After the storm, there is sunshine. A tree lies dormant in winter, only to come into a more full expression of itself come spring. Taller, broader, its roots deeper than the previous year. And when the time comes that the tree's life must end, before it topples, seeds at one time or another have been shed and have rooted into the soil, thus becoming a living demonstration of the continuity of life. And even in death, the tree provides nourishment to replenish the soil so other life sources will thrive. In nature, nothing clashes or is wasted. When you look upon the night sky, imagine your own infinite possibilities. Choose the stars that move you closer to the eternal, animating force that is the source of your best expression. Rise above the self-imposed limitations of the subjective, individualized thinking that controls you through your ego. Your ego tells you that you're not strong or capable. Your ego camouflages itself as your protector, and all the while it is crippling you and trying to convince you that you have no control over your life, that you're weak, insecure, and a victim. The reality is that you're powerful beyond measure. When you have reached deep within you to the absolute core and depth of your capability, when all that could possibly be said and all that could possibly be done has reached the pinnacle of your best efforts, love is the only true expression left to embrace. Love is the language of God. Let it be your identity, your divinity. Don't allow your subjective thinking to separate you from the God that lies within you. Don't allow circumstances, others' opinions, or the bad actions of others topple you from living as an example of your inner nature. Dare to be courageous and brave enough to live soul side out, even in the midst of others' misunderstandings or interpretations of your intention. Set yourself free from living a life cloaked behind your ego's wall of protection that says you must yield to the demands of the masses. Dare to be different, vulnerable, soft, and sensitive. Dare to allow your inner nature, the loving part of who you are, be visible. Deep within you, you're whole and complete now. You always were and always will be. Anything that appears outside of this image is a fantasy, something that was made up along the way, projected upon you, and that fantasy became entrenched in your subjective thinking. how you view yourself, how you view the outside world, and your relationship with that outside world. Spiritual independence is a state of being free of control. Now I hope you understand that the control that is imposed upon you is through thinking you are limited and powerless, when in reality you are a limitless expression of the infinite energy some call God. Free yourself of the thinking that keeps you separated from your true nature and come to know and embrace the splendor and radiance of spiritual independence. The divinity of spiritual independence is expressed through your ability and your willingness to demonstrate love. Thank you and Spirit for allowing me to connect with you during this sacred time at Harmony Harbor.